Pete said, well, I like the city view too. And so he said, I want to see your city view. So they went up the stairs.
The grandson and Pete, and Pete had the baby.
The grandson, Pete, and the baby. Okay. Now, all those details have been left out.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they went up the steps, and again, I was there. I heard this whole conversation. And around the same time, or maybe just a few minutes after, I don't know exactly when, but my granddaughter went up to the room and went over to her side while Pete and the baby and my grandson were looking out the window at the city view.
Okay.
And she proceeded to put her bathing suit on. Well, about the time she started to put it on, Jonathan comes running up the stairs.
Her dad.
And says, what are you doing in here while she's changing? You know, what are you doing? You know, and Pete was like, well, I'm sorry. I don't even know if he actually saw anything.
Because he had his back to her.
Because he was holding the baby and the 8-year-old was there. So he said, you know, I'm so sorry, and left.
So what were you saying, Jonathan, like just the difference, the discrepancy in sort of how your mom's making it sound?
Yeah, so she basically changed the story to where Israel went up with and Ari followed after, when Susie clearly saw.
So Israel and Ari are sharing a room. He has his bunk and she has hers, and they know, you know, when the other one's changing, just look away. So Israel's on his little device. He's in his bunk, not paying attention. And that's when Ariel came and starts changing. And that's when followed immediately. He goes, and started following her. So Joanie's story, none of those women at that table were witness. She was not there. Joanie and Marcus were down in the basement. So her and Rachel and Pete have concocted this fake story, and they're going to run with it. I was in the kitchen.
What happened in the kitchen when they followed up? Yes. I was in the bathroom of our room brushing my teeth when Susie came to me and said, hey, just followed Ari up to go get her. Well, she was going to change into her swimsuit. So,
and that wasn't cool. Yeah.
No. I mean, her alarm bells went off. I knew immediately in my spirit like something was off, and that I literally ran as fast as I could to get up there.
If you take it back to 2020, you know, when no one denied that the police did an investigation at the school, because at that point, someone at Daystar was not even a consideration. I would never go there. I did not want anyone to be guilty there. So I was constantly asking my daughter, my child, was it a boy? Was it at school? We kept texting the family, trying to figure out who it could be. She kept going along with everything I asked her. She's 5 years old. So at that point in 2020, even though there were suspicious things, I did not 100% didn't let my mind go there at all. I truly focused on the school. When the police shut the case on the school, I was actually very disappointed because it left me with no answers, and I wanted answers. So from there, things start building, and more than anything else, the truth is my child's behavior in front of this man. Every time he came around, her body would tighten up. She was terrified. She would hide. The only place she did not want to go was Daystar.
Yeah. And that's how we knew it wasn't the school, because after she told us about the abuse, she didn't have a problem going back to her school. She loved her school, but she did have a problem going to Daystar.
Yeah, the very day we met the teacher, she wanted to stay in school. So, you know, they are trying to concoct a new story with the process of what that looked like in that short period of time while the police were investigating the school. From there, certain instances started to build up, but I was too terrified to say anything to anyone. That's when Rebecca and JW came to me, and I was shocked that somebody else was also picking up on these things, but they witnessed, you know, him kissing her neck, her body, and they told me this, and I thank God for it. And then Denise was helping the family with other problems, like the other dynamics of the family. It had nothing to do with our child. And in one session, because I didn't really have drama with anyone, so in my session is when I unexpectedly started open up to Denise about these things. And she started to put things together, and she said, well, this sounds like a guilty person. You got to be careful. Let's all pray, because we don't want to point. This is such a horrible accusation. We never want to point fingers at anyone. So God, make it clear. That's it. We didn't have any agenda to prove him guilty, nothing. In fact, we were hoping and praying it would not be him.
Because we knew the massive rift it would cause in the family if it was the family member. So we were obviously very careful to even consider that as an option or a possibility. Like it didn't even enter our minds, like whenever our daughter first told Susie about the abuse.
There are moments when silence becomes deafening. And then there are moments when breaking that silence sends shockwaves through entire families, ministries, and communities. Today, we delve into a revelation that no one saw coming, a startling, emotional detail revealed by Joanie Lamb herself. A detail that may change everything we thought we knew. For weeks, the public has heard Jonathan and Susie Lamb's emotional account of a deeply disturbing incident involving their 5-year-old daughter and a man named Pete, someone close to the family. Their voices have stirred hearts, sparked outrage, and opened old wounds. But just when many thought they had heard the whole story, Joanie Lamb, the matriarch of Daystar television, stepped forward with her own account. One that, according to her, changes the context entirely. And if that wasn't enough, Joanie's daughter, Rachel Lamb, has confirmed some of the events. Today, we examine every angle of this unfolding story, breaking it down with clarity, compassion, and caution. No assumptions, just the facts, just the heartache, and above all, the search for truth. Joanie recounts that Pete, a family acquaintance, expressed interest in seeing the view from an upper room. Her grandson eagerly offered to show him. So the three of them, Pete, holding the baby, and the grandson, headed upstairs to the window. Around that time, Joanie's 5-year-old granddaughter also went upstairs. According to Joanie, the child entered the same room to change into her bathing suit. Meanwhile, Pete, facing the window with the baby in hand, and the grandson beside him, allegedly had his back turned. That's when Jonathan, the girl's father, rushed into the room, alarmed. Joanie describes the moment as a misunderstanding. She insists Pete was unaware that the child was changing behind him. According to her, Pete apologized profusely, even though he may not have seen anything at all. She argues that key details like Pete holding the baby and the presence of the grandson are often excluded in other tellings of the event, leading to a misrepresentation. To Joanie, the scene was unfortunate but not malicious. But not everyone agrees. Jonathan Lamb offers a starkly different account. He says his daughter, Ariel, and his son, Israel, were sharing the upstairs room. The children knew the basic boundaries. When one was changing, the other looked away. At the time, Israel was occupied on his device in his bunk. Then Ariel began to change, and Pete followed her up the stairs. That's when alarm bells rang for Jonathan. According to Jonathan, Susie, his wife, had just seen Pete go upstairs after their daughter. She rushed to alert him. He was brushing his teeth when she arrived, and the moment she spoke, he said his spirit stirred. Something felt terribly off. He sprinted up the stairs, and that's when he found Pete in the room while his daughter was undressing. To Jonathan, this wasn't a case of wrong place, wrong time. This was a red flag, a warning sign. And in his eyes, Pete crossed a line that should never be blurred. Jonathan also claims Joanie and others weren't even present. He says they were in the basement at the time, and that Joanie, Rachel, and Pete later concocted a version of the story that erased the disturbing implications. He doesn't mince words. He believes they are covering for Pete. But this wasn't a one-time concern. Jonathan's worry didn't begin and end with that one incident. Over time, his daughter's behavior began to change dramatically, especially around Pete. She would tighten up, hide, refuse to go anywhere Pete might be. And one location stood out in particular, Daystar. Jonathan recalls how she cried not to go, how her body would recoil at the mention of Pete's name. And it wasn't just him noticing. Rebecca and Jay, W2 family members, privately warned Jonathan that they, too, had seen concerning behavior. They had allegedly witnessed Pete kiss the young girl's neck. And that's when it became harder to deny something deeper might be happening. Years earlier, in 2020, there was already a police investigation centered not on the family, but on the child's school. At that time, Jonathan hadn't even considered Pete could be involved. He says he pleaded with his daughter for details. He asked if anything happened at school. She cooperated, but no one considered the possibility that the problem could be closer to home. The investigation at the school was eventually closed with no findings. And that's when things shifted. Despite hoping for closure, the mystery only deepened. Jonathan says the realization came slowly, painfully, piece by piece. And when his daughter continued to attend school happily, but still resisted going to Daystar, it raised more questions. Why would a child feel safe at school, but terrified at a Christian network's headquarters? Denise Boggs, a Christian counselor and founder of Living Waters Ministry. She had been recommended by Joanie herself to help with unrelated family issues. But during a session with Denise, Jonathan opened up about the situation. He had been holding it in, afraid of the implications, afraid of the consequences of accusing someone within the family. Denise didn't leap to conclusions. She listened carefully and encouraged prayer, discernment, and wisdom. Her advice was simple but profound. We don't want to accuse anyone falsely, but we must ask God to make the truth clear. Jonathan says that's exactly what they did. They prayed. They watched. They waited. But with each passing moment, each fearful reaction from his daughter, each memory of what Rebecca and J.W. told him, the picture became harder to ignore. At the heart of this story is a fractured family. Joanie Lamb, the public face of Daystar, stands by her version. She believes Pete is innocent, caught in the wrong moment, wrongly accused. Jonathan and Susie believe otherwise. They believe their daughter's trauma is real, that the signs were there, and that the people closest to them are unwilling to confront it. There are no easy answers here, only perspectives, only pain, and only a desperate desire from all sides for the truth to prevail. In a surprising twist, Rachel Lamb, Joanie's daughter, has confirmed parts of Joanie's account. While she hasn't publicly endorsed or rejected Jonathan's claims, her support of Joanie's version adds another layer of complexity. Rachel's role is critical. As a daughter, a sister, and a public figure, her silence or speech carries weight. But does confirming small details mean the broader concern has been dismissed? That's the question. This isn't just about one family. This is about the broader church, about accountability in Christian media, about the painful reality that abuse allegations don't always come from the outside world, but sometimes from within the house of faith. And when they do, what should we do? Believe the child? Defend the familiar? Or seek the truth, no matter how uncomfortable? Julie Royce, a journalist known for exposing corruption in Christian institutions, released an investigation into the Lamb family and Daystar. With Joanie's recent revelation, some speculate that Royce might reconsider certain conclusions, especially if timelines or testimonies have been misrepresented. But the story is far from over. This is a moment that demands more than outrage. It demands carefulness, prayer, accountability, and humility. Whether you believe Joanie or Jonathan, one thing is clear: a little girl is at the center of this storm. And she deserves more than family feuds, public rebuttals, and media narratives. She deserves peace, healing, safety, and truth. If you've listened this far, thank you. This isn't easy content, but it's necessary. Because only when the light shines on hidden places can healing begin. What are your thoughts? How should the church navigate situations where truth is disputed within families and ministries? Let us know in the comments below, but please keep it respectful. We'll continue following this story with care, clarity, and compassion. Even when stories seem confusing, even when testimonies conflict, one thing must guide us: love without compromise, truth without favoritism, and courage to confront darkness even when it appears in the most trusted places. Let us remember that justice and mercy are not enemies, they are sisters in the house of God. And until every child is safe, every victim heard, and every lie exposed, we continue the work. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.
Let me tell you that I haven't made any edits here. The original video has cuts in this section.